July 24th meeting of the Richfield City Planning Commission is called to order. Before we approve the minutes, I'm going to give the telephone number for anyone who is watching virtually in case they want to call in for the open forum or any hearings. The phone number would be 415-655-0001, 415-655-0001 with an access code of 2634-948-5071 and the password of 1234. I'll now entertain a motion for the minutes.
So moved.
Moved. Can I get a second? Moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The minutes have been approved. All right, it is now time for our open forum. The open forum is generally a time for members of the public to provide comment to the Planning Commission about items that are not on the regular meeting agenda. There's a public hearing scheduled for the meeting today, and there will be time for comments about that. But if anyone is here who has any other comments for the Planning Commission, please approach the podium and sign in. Do we have any calls holding?
Chair and Commissioners, we do not at this time.
All right. It appears that no one is here to speak for the public forum. So let's go into the approval of the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved, Commissioner Sturson.
In a second. All in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. The first item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider a request to amend a conditional use permit to increase the capacity of a preschool and daycare at 7132 Portland Avenue to 330 children. Do we have a report from the staff, Planner Crosby?
Yes, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Twin Cities Spanish Immersion, doing business as Tierra Encantada, is before you this evening requesting an amendment to the existing conditional use permit for a daycare at Hope Church, which is located at 7132 Portland Avenue South. The amendment is to increase the number of children from 244 to 330. It is also to change the hours of operation, which are currently 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., to be 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. No exterior changes are proposed to the building or the grounds. The children will use the playground located inside the courtyard in the middle of the building. Drop-off and pickup will be located near the southeast corner of the building where it is separated from other weekday uses. The use will create approximately 55 full-time employees. The amount of parking greatly exceeds the code requirements, and the only nonconformity staff found is bicycle parking. Therefore, staff is recommending that 4 additional bike racks accommodating 8 bicycles be installed. The church has agreed to this and has already ordered the racks. I did receive one email inquiry from a neighboring resident who had some questions, but I believe I answered them satisfactorily as I have not heard from them or anyone else since. Staff finds that the proposed daycare meets the requirements of the zoning code and therefore recommends approval of the conditional use permit amendment subject to the conditions listed in the draft resolution of approval. Thank you.
Does anyone on the commission have questions for Planner Crosby?
What questions did the person that wrote in have?
They were inquiring about where the playground, which playground would they be using, where the entrance would be, where the drop-off and pickup was scheduled, and about the capacity of even though they are looking at a total of 55 full-time employees, it will be approximately in the high 30s that would be any one given shift.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is the Richfield Schools drop-off area on the west side of the building? Will that be used at all?
That's the high school. that uses that west side of the building there, where the dedicated drop-off lane is.
If no one else on the commission has any questions for staff, I will open the public hearing. So if the applicant is here or anyone else has something they'd like to comment they'd like to make about this, please approach the podium, sign in, and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Reinecke on behalf of Tierra Encantada. I'm present. If there are any other questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Do you just want to tell us a little bit about the history of your business in the Richfield area?
Tierra Encantada, specifically? Yep, so Tierra Encantada currently doesn't exist in the Richfield area. There are, Egan is the first one. There's a second one in Egan now. They've expanded into Rochester, out of state as well, and then there are 5 of them actually in the South Minneapolis area. So the nearest one is just maybe about a mile up in the Wyndham neighborhood, and it's about the same size as the square footage that we're looking at in Richfield, and it's about the same size, same capacity. And it currently has about a 2-year wait list. So within this general demographic area, we know that there's a significant demand, which, again, is what's sort of, encouraged us to take on a site this size.
I'm sorry, I wasn't completely clear. Thank you for that. I was kind of just wondering, like, what attracted you to Richfield specifically? What about the community here?
Well, aside from that, right, what I just mentioned, we know that there is a relatively large Latino population here, and I lived in Richfield for about 15 years. I'm very familiar with the population, and so we, want to bring obviously this service to the area, but we also know that there's opportunity for, employment, right, up to 55 full-time employees, and one of our large requirements, of course, is that they're dual language, English and Spanish. So having that, heavy Spanish-speaking population in the area helped us identify this area as well.
Thank you very much. Does anyone on the commission have, go for it?
Can you kind of break down what types of jobs those 55 are?
Yep. So primarily lead teachers, right, and then aides. There will be obviously some cooks, utility positions, leaders, right, directors, assistant directors, those kinds of things. But the majority of them, will be of the teacher capacity, and there's, I would say they're considered professionals. I mean, there's definitely some fairly stringent standards and continuing education that happens for our teachers as well.
Thank you. And if you would just be sure that you've signed your name into the...
Yep, I did.
Right, wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission? Do we have any callers or any electronic comments?
Chair, we do not.
I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Chair, Commissioner Rudolph, so moved.
And a second? All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is closed. Let's discuss this.
Chair, just in general, I would like to express support and eagerness to welcome them to the community. As a parent of small kids, I think it's hard. And the Spanish immersion option is a great addition. So thanks for coming in to tell us.
I'm in support of the chair. I'd be ready to make a motion. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the resolution amending the conditional use permit to increase the capacity of the preschool and daycare at 7132 Portland Avenue.
All in favor of approving the recommended staff action, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The proposed action is approved. Let's go to liaison reports. Of course, we'll start with the Community Services Advisory Commission.
Chair, the one thing I've got is would like to report that the Wood Lake Nature Center project has been approved by the Minnesota legislature and is going to move forward.
And City Council.
Yes, Chair. Two members of the City Council. They held a regular meeting on June 27th, during which they awarded a liquor license to the restaurant, Toma Mojo Grill at 1766th Street. They also approved renewal of the cable TV franchise with Comcast at that meeting. At a work session on July 11th, the City Council discussed the changes to recreational adult use cannabis, including potential city regulations related to zoning, number of businesses allowed, and allowing hemp versus cannabis in liquor stores here. Thank you for adjusting my microphone. I didn't realize. On 7/11 as well, there was a regular meeting to consider a request for a conditional use permit to allow Blossom Time Montessori to use St. Nicholas Episcopal Church over on Penn, as we learned last month. That's everything. Thank you.
Housing and redevelopment.
The HRA has been busy as usual. There is an open seat on the HRA, and they are accepting applications through July 30th. So if there's any interest, there's a lot of information on the website about the scope of the HRA work. And I'm sure that there's contact information if anyone's curious about learning more. The HRA agreed to be a conduit for a multifamily housing revenue bond for $10 million for the Upper Post Flats development in the Fort Snelling area. It's not technically part of Richfield, but because it's not, I think, incorporated is the right term, the city could be a conduit for that bond, or the HRA could be. The HRA also approved an agreement for Homes Within Reach to buy, rehab, and sell up to 2 homes under the New Home Program for income qualifying households. They approved a redevelopment agreement with Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative for the development on 66 in Portland for the 38 units. It agreed to sell the land for $1 and provides a $500,000 grant. We had a work session on this proposal a bit ago, and it sounds like they're hoping for perhaps a 2025 construction if all of their funding and additional land use approvals get approved. And it sounds like we might be reviewing that project in the not so distant future. They also approved an amended agreement and TIF for the development at 101 66th Street, which is the one where the old white building that we approved a while ago. So they increased the subsidy to $385,000. They increased it by that amount, and they the HRA was very encouraging to start the development as soon as possible. I didn't hear any hard deadlines of when it might construction might start on that. And then they also terminated Best Buy's minimum assessment agreement with compromises on both ends. Encourage you to view council discussion if you want to learn more about that one. It sounds multi-layered, but busy times for the HRA.
All right, thank you. I have no report for the School Board. Transportation Commission.
Yes, well, the last regular meeting did not take place, but it's nonetheless been busy summer for road construction here in Richfield. The 77th Street underpass is now open. If you haven't heard about that, go take a look. It's there. It's finally happened after many years of planning. But a lot of ongoing projects too. 65th Street construction continues. The intersection of 65th and Lindale recently closed and will stay closed, I believe, for several months. But the project still plans to be done by the end of this construction season. And in other news, work is just starting to begin on the big 494 project with some work around the vicinity of 494 and 35W with ramp closures coming up within the next couple of weeks. And on local streets, there's work going on to replace traffic signals at 77th at Lindale, as well as at 76th and 70th along Nicollet. But yes, that's my update.
Chamber of Commerce?
No meeting this last month, so no notes.
And the Sustainability Commission, Matt is not here today. All right, could we get the city planner's report, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. I don't have anything to report from the council. However, I will say that we only had one application received, and it is, I believe, going to be technically incomplete. So therefore, it is looking highly likely that we will not have an August Planning Commission meeting. Now, as we've seen before, something could pop up last minute that we decide to try to usher through, but the deadline was last week. So the deadline is long past to apply. So it's highly likely that we're going to cancel next month's meeting. And also, I'd like to introduce you to Ruby, our new associate planner. So do you want to just introduce yourself?
I don't know. Oh, okay, it's working. Yeah, I'm Ruby. Hi, nice to meet you all. I'm excited to be here. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
It's second week, so new.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's all I have for this evening.
All right. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Commissioner Sturza.
And second,
Seconded, Commissioner Surma.
all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.